Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Brendan Jones with 0 Point University, and I'm excited to share with you my father's first public appearance on my YouTube channel. We're going to be sharing his side of the story when it comes to the municipal court system and how he was handled, and how I was able to free him using the knowledge I gained from 0 Point University. I hope you enjoy. Welcome everybody. My name is Brendan Jones. This is my father, Russell Jones.
Hi.
And today we're going to be sharing his side of the story on our adventure in Mesa County and our encounter with the Mesa County Municipal Court. So thank you, Dad. Thanks for coming on.
I'm glad to.
Good. So before we go into the story, I want everyone to know my dad has about 20 years experience working for the federal government, right?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
20 years with them and all those years as a federal architect, doing a lot of projects for lots of agencies like IRS, DEA, FBI, U.S. courts, all that.
Yeah. And it wasn't until after you retired that you started, the courts started to harass you with a bunch of small commercial charges. Isn't that correct?
That's correct, but not the federal courts.
Right.
It's the local Mesa County courts.
Okay.
That's correct.
So they're kind of, after you were no longer usable, you were no longer considered an asset.
I guess that's true, yes.
You know? Yeah. That's just the feeling I get.
And what I say is the federal programs and things that I was doing basically sign off on a lot of that, and then whatever from there is passed on to like county and things like that.
So how is it that you actually got involved with this particular charge? What were the circumstances that made it to where you were getting so caught up in the municipal court?
Well, I guess to start at the beginning, my mom and I were having an argument, and then some neighbors called in that we were arguing and things like that, and the sheriff's deputies that were called in grabbed me, took me away, and I was charged with verbal assault of an at-risk adult, which was my mom, who was in her early 80s, and I was in my 60s. That's how that started. Yeah.
So it started with a complaint from your neighbor.
Somebody called in that was not associated with us at all.
Okay. And then they charged you with verbal assault.
They charged me with that. Yes, that's correct.
Verbal assault, and the state placed a protection order against you for your mother on her behalf.
They placed it so that the restraining order was to eliminate me from ever coming to her property or to interact with her. That's right.
And this was without her consent.
Oh no, of course no. She never expressed anything like that she needed that kind of restraint against me at all.
Because you were actually working on her land at the time.
That's correct, and I have for a long time, and so my mom and I have never had issues where the law to be called or anything.
Yeah, so they decided to take it into their own hands.
Yes, in that particular thing, we were just arguing and yelling, and somebody called in, and that's where that started.
Okay, so then this final time that you got booked, supposedly there was a video of you on near the property.
Correct.
And the video was the basis for your third arrest.
That's correct. The video supposedly depicted myself as being at or near her property, even though I was not on any of her property. But that video was incriminating because I was supposedly close to her property.
And where were you when they made the arrest? Were you on the property or were you somewhere else?
No, I was elsewhere. I was not on the property. No, the police found me elsewhere, but based my arrest on the fact that I was close to my mom's property. So they used that as a reason to arrest me.
So they used hearsay evidence.
Hearsay evidence. That's
hearsay.
Correct. That's correct.
That was submitted by your brother.
And if that, I don't know if video footage like that matters, but it was, yes, I call it hearsay, yes. Because I was not even on my mom's property.
Right.
At all.
So it's just another opportunity to make some money by the state.
Oh, yes.
It looks like.
And yes. Mm-hmm.
So when they booked you for that third and final arrest, what were your initial thoughts when you were in jail?
Well, my initial thoughts were that this was so unfair and blown out of proportion because my mom had never, ever had any complaint against me. None. And so that's what really hurt me, was that there was no intentional wrongdoing on my part.
And she made no complaint, no charge?
Absolutely no charge, no complaint, no anything like that. None, zero.
In fact, in every case you've ever been in, never have you faced your accuser.
That's correct. She has never, ever filed a complaint or any kind of thing there that says I violated her or anything like that. None. Zero.
So I didn't actually find out about this until 3 days after you had been arrested. And the day before you had been arrested, you were actually on the property packing, getting ready to leave. Is that right?
Very correct, yes. I went there to I was in what you might call the barn down by the road. Not near her house, but down by the road. I was packing
literally
up,
like a red barn.
Yep. I was packing up my belongings and my things in my backpack and everything so I could put it in my truck, which was parked right outside of her property. That's right.
So when I found out about it, your mother had to call me. And at this time, this is essentially a dispute of family matters. This has nothing to do with the state. And the only reason why we had to go through this whole ordeal is because the state decided to get involved in what was very personal matters.
Correct, yes.
And so I actually didn't receive the news till days later because your mother had to wait until your brother was not present to make the phone call.
Yeah, that's correct.
So,
and that kind of gives you an idea of the difficulty in filing any charges against me while my brother was there on the property.
That's right.
He was completely against anything that had to do with myself. But yes, my mom had to wait until the right time was to call him.
That's right. And so after I got the call, I had attempted to call all the staff in the county jail to send my father a message to call me, and all those requests were refused. So I had to pay $75 to send him a 1-minute voicemail, letting him know, please call me on this collect call line. And
that's correct.
But then after the phone call, your perceptions of the whole case changed, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. to put it briefly, I simply shared with him what I learned on Zero Point University, that you're being tried as an all capital name, that you're not actually being sued like a normal man would, and this court is not actually discussing whether you committed a crime or not. They just want to know who's going to pay the bond.
That's correct.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked you to fire your lawyer and to fire your defense attorney and to just don't waive any of your rights. And what were the staff's reaction to my instructions that I gave you?
The staff of
your defense attorney and those.
Well, their immediate reaction is that we know how to take care of all this. Do not try to do anything. Do not try to do anything, because we can help you with all these charges and all these things. That was their reaction, was sit tight, just let us handle it.
Mm-hmm. And they knew I was coming.
If they did, they sure didn't say it. Yeah.
So, if y'all want to see the full account of what actually happened in the court case, check out my first video. But to put it very briefly, after my dad was booked and processed, I made a trip out to Colorado, out to Grand Junction, to go be there for my father's case. So I found about it about 5 days before the case, and I arrive about 2 days before, and I'm preparing and getting everything ready. I mail in the documents, my motions, what have you, to the court, and when the clerk opens the door, I immediately walk in and I hand her a letter that's addressed to her personally, saying, please have your accountant prepare a 1099 OID. And the reason I did that is because the whole point of the case or the hearing is to determine the nature and the cause of the bond and who's going to pay it. And so I'm asking that the bond be brought forward publicly so that we can determine who has interest in it. And essentially the judge just tells me, this letter you have, we will not accept violence in this courtroom, and you're not a licensed attorney, you can't represent your father. After our brief discussion, I'm actually removed from the courtroom so that I don't keep talking. And my father hasn't even entered the courtroom yet, so as far as he's concerned, I'm not even there. But my brother's still present after I'm removed. So what happened when they brought you into court? What did they tell you? What did they say to you?
When I came into court to see Judge Rom, he read the accusations or the charges against me, and then stated that unless other people or entities having an issue with these, then these will stand. That's what he said. And these will stand as a charge. Then he said, if you understand these things, then if you have no contest against this, then I will assure that you can return to your cell, and we will work on this as a court. And that's what I did. I returned immediately to where I was held, and then I was released immediately. I mean, the minute I walked back in there, I was released, which to me tells me that the judge had me released, because normally something like that takes a long time to be released after a court hearing or something.
It could take days.
Yes, or even if not even that, just 12 hours, 14 hours. But he had me released immediately. So that's where that went.
Yeah, and if y'all want to hear the exact conversation I had with the judge, check out my first video. You'll see why he decided to release my father so fast.
Well, he did not waste any time on that.
So
he just had me. He had me released.
and when they released you, they already had all your stuff out of the bags.
They had everything ready. They had all my street clothes or whatever you want to call it, and everything. They had it all ready when they said to be released. Then it was all ready. Everything was ready. Just sign here and you're gone. And that was how it was. And that never ever happens with the jail. That never happens like that. Never.
And you've had some experience with judges.
I have in that court, yes.
Yeah. So you know their temperament.
Yes.
That was out of the ordinary for them.
Yes, that's not at all normal or expected response or behavior.
Would you say that response was out of self-preservation?
Very possible.
That is my impression also.
All right. Very possible. Yeah.
Because when I looked at him, his face was so red.
Yeah.
And
very, very possible.
Little bits of spit were coming out of his mouth.
Very possible that he just wanted to separate himself from all that and just let it go away. That's kind of how I thought.
And then they finally opened that big metal door. That big sound.
Oh,
right.
And let me out.
Yeah, when they let you out.
Yeah.
And me and my brother were standing there ready.
Yeah.
Y'all should have seen my face, man.
Yeah, and that was just right before that is when I pick up my clothing or whatever, and then they open that and you walk out. So that means you've been given your whatever clothing or something that you had on. That's right.
So, given that whole experience, what are your takeaway thoughts and feelings from having experienced all of that? What's your opinion on the state and how it handles its lower courts, and how do you feel like you were treated?
First of all, I'd say the state, when it has people, whether they're guilty or not, when it has people corralled into arrests and everything that are sent into the jail, then that gives them the right to determine what to do with these people. So if they want to do something, to get out of all those positions that these people are in jail for, they have to go through each judge. They have to go through the judges. And so that kind of holds up all the process of these people that are in there waiting to just see a judge. And they're not always, a lot of them are not anything that, or a big violation.
Yeah.
They're just in there because they were arrested for something or whatever.
They just violated some commercial code.
Yep, and so then they're held. They're held to then go in front of a judge, and that is what keeps them in jail for a day or two or three before they see the judge. That's how it is.
So they're held before they've even determined if anything they did was wrong.
That's correct. They're held in there just because they were accused.
And never did you face your accuser?
No. In my case, no.
No.
But in some of the cases, the same thing. They're held in there because of being accused of this or that, and they're arrested. But a lot of them have never seen their accuser or know what the accuser is doing. And in my case, the same thing. Never even saw my own accuser or my mom. So the accuser is actually Mesa County. It's not my mom.
But one in the courtroom was taking responsibility for being the accuser.
That's right. And my mom had absolutely no accusations against me at all.
She never made a complaint.
Not one.
Or your brother, for that matter.
Well, yeah. Yeah, he's kind of out floating around on the outside.
He never showed up.
He's kind of out floating around on the outside. But yeah, he's not really. But,
He's in his own world.
yeah, yeah. So that. But anyway, so that's what I'll say.
Okay. So, and then after that, you remember I received a letter from the Council of Attorney Regulations of the state of Colorado,
Correct.
and they attempted to try me as an attorney. As far as I know, I actually didn't get to read.
That's correct, and even though they don't have any right for that to do that.
No.
No.
And it's probably just because I burned that lawyer
And
pretty
it's
bad.
kind of a scare tactic.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. It's
Yeah.
kind of a scare tactic because they have there's no legal ramification, none of that even makes a bit of a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So because my family's a team, I had my brother get a notarized letter letting them know that I do not agree to any contract that they sent
That's
me.
correct. That's correct.
And mailed it back. And
That's correct.
now, you just recently got a call from your head defense attorney telling you that the judge, on his own behalf, dropped the whole case.
That's correct. Both of the charges against me were dropped.
That's right. And
That's right.
initially, he had released you on a PR bond.
Correct. And he had those removed. So,
And after you were released,
so what that
Yeah.
does is asking myself, why then, if they release all that and throw it out, then what was his role in causing these accusations and everything? If they're all dropped,
right? Was
So-
he the judge or was he the accuser?
yeah, well, it was judged, but it's like, why were these ever brought up, and why are they now canceled? And there's nothing. So,
And that's one of the main questions in court. Whose case is it?
yeah, it's now there is no case, So
Yeah.
the judge is lucky because they can't bring anything up and there's nothing there. Well, the fine print doesn't say, but I dismissed this and this and this, but no, they don't say that. They just say, well, he has no complaint against Russell Jones, so we blah blah blah, and so drop it. So that's where it goes. It's dropped.
And after you were released, you had a hearing where the judge gave you permission to leave the state.
Correct.
So the judge knowingly allowed my father to go outside of his jurisdiction.
Correct. That's correct. When I'm not sure, my public defender or whatever told him that one of the things I needed to do at my mom's property is pick up some items and then move to another state. And he granted that. He didn't even argue. He just granted that. So I asked myself, why? Why? Well, he knows there's no threat against anybody. There's no threat against my mom or anything. He just gives me permission to do that. So.
And you learned later that court is actually a court of equity. He wasn't concerned whether you committed a crime. He just wanted to know if the bond was going to be paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah.
So that's how it all goes, and it's also childish and so much baloney and everything to just get to the bottom of all this and then just let somebody do the thing they were going to do anyway and move things and this and that. So it's all going through all the courts process and everything that it boils down to. It's just all process of everything from the courts.
Yeah, and it deters you from trying to participate.
Yeah. So anyway.
And you've made it clear that you're not just going to let this go.
Oh no. This is not something I can just blow off and walk away from. No, this this is a little more, and I won't say much to incriminate myself, but this is just a little more serious than a traffic offense that was forgotten and accidentally charged or something.
Right.
So this is not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they took something you can never get back, which
That's
is
right.
time.
And this is something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So, to wrap it up on a positive note, what are your opinions now on 0 Point University now that you've been through this whole experience?
I think, in my experience, is that had I known all these things that 0 Point offers, I would have been in a lot better shape than I am now. But now that I know a lot of these, I'm more educated and I have more ammo, you might say, about things in the future here that are, that come from things like this.
And would you recommend this form of education to people who are in your situation or similar?
Of course, yeah, I would, sure I would, yeah. Yeah, I would recommend it. I could say this as a degreed individual, all this stuff, but I can also say to the average decent American or whatever, that this would be helpful. It doesn't have to be somebody that's ranked or
right
or degrees or something like that. So I think that speaks for itself.
And I don't know about you, but I never would have thought that this kind of thing would happen. This is something that it's almost like it just proves to you that there's a bigger plan for all of this.
Yeah, and life is very interesting.
Because it was like a movie.
Life,
I show up in there and I immediately walk in and it's just like, dude.
life is full of surprises,
Thanks again for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed my father's account of his reeling experience with the municipal court. If you'd like to know more about my personal experience with freeing my father from the legal system, check the video link in the description below. If you'd like to learn how to become a creditor and actually create wealth using your signature, as well as learn how to operate as a commercial instrumentality, sign up now for the Secure Party Creditor course. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Now we get to check this out.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's recording this time.
Better not tell me it's not recording. I'm gonna file a lawsuit against the union of the iPods.
The union of the iPods?
The iPad union, and then say,